There are many products to choose from these days to try and make ourselves look better. But what if we considered different kinds of products to be what actually shows beauty? Peter wrote a letter to Christians who were scattered because of persecution. He wrote to encourage them and to continue to teach them about God's standards for living. Let's read 1 Peter 3, verses 3 and 4. Your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. Peter was basically saying that the second group of products likely show off more beauty than the first set. Although this passage was directed at women, the teaching is the same for men and women. He wasn't saying that people can't dress nice, wear nice things, or use beauty products, so to speak. He was saying that those things aren't the basis of beauty. Instead, beauty comes from our inner self. In Greek, that literally means the hidden person of the heart. What's on the inside has always been God's standard of beauty. It's not just something we see in the New Testament. Let's read from 1 Samuel. God has sent Samuel to anoint the future king. Jesse shows off his sons one by one. Samuel is impressed by the oldest son, Eliab, but then God speaks to Samuel. Let's read 1 Samuel 16, verse 7. But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." After this reminder, Samuel chooses the youngest son, David, to anoint as the future king. David was handsome by the world's standards, but God cared that David's heart was right, positioned to love God and serve others. People throughout the history of the Salvation Army have chosen to see God's image in others. They've chosen to love like Jesus, showing their own inner beauty. This is a rich history we have as Salvationists. Let's look at a few examples. Elizabeth Cottrell was a Salvationist who prayed with a young girl at the mercy seat. She learned that she was lured in and ended up in a brothel. Elizabeth was determined to not send her back. Instead, she took the girl into her own home, even though there were already 16 people living there. But they made room. This is how the rescue work of the Salvation Army began, helping those enslaved in prostitution. In 1884, the Salvation Army decided to rent a room in one of the worst districts in London and sent a captain and 4 cadets to live there. They were called the Cellar, Gutter, and Garret Brigade. A garret is an attic, because that is where they were willing to go to find the people who needed them the most. They visited from house to house and room to room, washing babies, scrubbing floors, tending to the sick, and listening to stories. In the evenings, they handed out pamphlets at bars and talked with people about God. Eventually becoming known as the Slum Sisters, they took the love of God and the hope of salvation to dark hearts. Major Betty Baker ministered on the streets of New York City for the last 7 years of her officership. Starting in the summer of 1984, she took the canteen out 5 nights a week from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. to offer cookies, hot chocolate, and a listening ear to prostitutes, addicts, homeless people, and street children. On several occasions, she was one of the last people to talk with someone before they died. She always took the opportunity to say, "Jesus loves you. He may not love what you do, but he loves you." When the Salvation Army reopened in Russia in the 90s, Major Ivy Nash moved from London to Moscow to serve the city's poor. Every night, she drove to several train stations, opened her trunk, and served soup. But she served more than soup. She served hope. Working with Moscow's homeless men, women, and children was dangerous work because the government didn't want them to settle in the train stations. In fact, before an election, the militia gathered the homeless, hosed them with water, herded them onto trains, and threw them outside in the snowy fields to freeze and catch pneumonia and die. Major Nash said that sometimes she and other volunteers were their only friends. Whether it's providing a new life to girls who have been trafficked into prostitution, helping in the dark corners of poor neighborhoods, serving the homeless on city streets and in train stations, this is what it looks like to see the image of God in others, love them like Jesus, and show the real beauty from the inside out.